Hello everyone, let's get started. You're watching my Shiny Force 3 Scenario 1 Insane Mode Efficiency playthrough. So this of course is Battle 1, so the first thing we do is of course switch the game over to Insane Mode. It's a pretty simple toggle, nothing too complicated. However, it's worth noting that if you want to unlock this mode, you have to have beaten the game at least once, which is kind of annoying, so if you want to try it out for yourself, I recommend going online and looking for save files. They're out there, and there are people in the community who can provide them. So despite this being the first map of the game, there's already a lot to talk about because there was a city exploration phase at the very beginning of the game. So hopefully I can get through all of it. So we start with 4 units here. We have Dantares the Knight, Masquerade the Mage, Grace the Priest, and of course our fearless leader, Symbios. Symbios is honestly a pretty bad unit right now. In the early game you're going to be seeing him do 1 or 2 points of damage a lot of the time, and he's 2 or 3 hit KO'd himself. The AI also prefers to target him a lot of the time because by killing him they can force a game over on you. So sometimes you're just going to see him kind of standing off to the side and not really doing much, especially for these first few chapters. So Dantares the Knight, he's already trying really hard to compete for the title of most useful unit, because as you can see he is the only one here who can stab things for any decent amount of damage in physical combat. And he's also by far the bulkiest one of our units right now. He can take 3 or 4 hits with his good HP and defense stats. So one of his main jobs in this map is to stand within the range of enemies to bait them in. Because if you don't do this, if you don't stand within their range, they kind of just shuffle around in place and never come bother you. This is a pretty common AI type you'll see in this game, where a lot of times they kind of inch towards you 1 or 2 blocks at a time, and they wait until you're in range before they move on to you. And that's another way that Dantares can be useful because he does have 7 move, unlike our Mage and Priest who only have 5 move, and Symbios who does have 6 move, which is nice. So baiting these enemies in with Dantares on this map actually serves another function. It's the fact that he has weapon triangle advantage against all these masked monks who are wielding swords. So as I mentioned in the introductory video, weapon triangle advantage actually affects your counter rate in this game as well. So normally the counter rate is really low, it's like 3% or something, but having weapon triangle advantage actually increases your counter rate by 20%. So over the course of the chapter, because I've allowed Dantares to take multiple hits, it's not too unreasonable to expect at least 1 counter to happen. Which is exactly what we're about to get in a moment here. Now I didn't need it to happen to this specific enemy, although there are some enemies where if he countered it wouldn't have made much of a difference. But the point is that I would have liked him to activate a counter at least once across multiple units on this map, and by doing that I kind of neatly dropped them into a KO range in which I can take care of them, without having them overwhelm me to the point where somebody is going to die. I should note that with these particular enemy actions, normally Dantares would have been focus fired by all 3 monks and he would have been killed by that. But what I've actually done at the beginning of the game is, during the town exploration section, we found a Bread of Life, which is one of the stat boosters in this game, and as you might expect, it increases your HP. And I gave it to Dantares and it increases HP by 4 points. So by doing that, the AI behavior changes. They realize that they can't combine to kill Dantares, so after 2 of them hit Dantares, instead of the final one going for him for the kill, they instead go target Symbios, who I heal right back up, so it's not a problem. If you don't use the Bread of Life in this way, I feel like this map can become much more of a slog. What some players try to do when they clear this map on Insane Mode is that they actually go to the manhole cover on the corner of the map, which actually has a terrain effect on it, so you can fight more defensively over there. There's also a terrain effect in front of the church, but you can't really go there without aggroing every single one of the monks, which obviously would just get you overrun. The former makes the map go way slower, and the latter isn't really a viable strategy, as far as I can tell. So you might have noticed that a couple moments ago I actually arranged my units into a square formation. This allows me to survive the 2 remaining monks, because not only was Dantares at a point where 2 hits would have killed him, Masquerade is also 2-hit KO'd by these monks. So the AI does prioritize trying to get kills on your party before you go for Symbios a lot of the time. So if I didn't use the conveniently placed church to kind of create this formation to protect my units, then somebody would have died. So speaking of Masquerade, she is our mage as I mentioned, and she is absolutely broken. Magic is just really overpowered in this game. You saw already that when she casts the Blaze spell, she reliably deals about 10 points of damage, and that is going to go up as she levels up, and it only costs 2 MP, which even though it's kind of hard to keep up with right now because her MP pool is kind of small, her MP becomes less and less of a problem as you go along with the game. Usually when people try to tier list the game, Masquerade very comfortably sits in the top spot, and sometimes she kind of deserves her own tier because she's just that good. Her only real downside is that she is very frail, but there are usually ways you can play around that. Grace the Priest, of course, is our healer. Most of the time you're going to be seeing her casting heal or using a healing herb. Kind of obvious that's her job, but they did provide a number of things that she is able to do outside of that, as the game goes along and you get some weapon choices that kind of open up things that she can do. So you're going to get to see her do some other stuff too. but we're going to be able to expand on a lot of this in future videos because we're about to finish off the final enemy here. So that's battle 1, and it's completed in 6 turns, and I'll see you in the next one.